Hello, friends, and welcome to Lesson 2 of Unit 3, which is on intellectual property rights and import of technology. So, after discussing the technological environment, it is important to talk about the intellectual property rights because we are moving towards intellectual properties. And also, we'll discuss about import of technology. The learning outcomes for this lesson are we'll go into the depth of intellectual property rights. Then we'll talk about technology transfer. We'll also look at appropriate technology. What is that? And what are the issues when you are thinking of importing the technology or exporting the technology? That is technology transfer issues. And then we'll take up a case study, a small one, so that we can understand the concepts. Let's start with what is IPR. IPR stands for Intellectual Property Right. What is an intellectual property right? So it is a product of the mind or intellect. So it is nothing physical or anything that comes from your mind, or you have invented something new, or you have come across something which is your property. So it can be in the form of inventions in the area of music, literature, any artistic work, or a new design. When we say design, it can be a product design or even the factory layout. I can claim as my intellectual right. So we'll discuss from next slide that IPRs can be in the form of patents, copyrights, trademarks, or trade secrets. So basically, there are three broader categories under IPRs. One is trademark, another is copyright, and the third one is patent. So the bigger question we always have is, what should I opt to protect my intellectual property? So let us first understand trademark, copyright, or patent. Anyone who can tell me something about that? If yes, please note down either in the chat box or in your notebooks. It is very important to understand the four things: patent, copyright, trademark, and design right. When we talk about patent, so it is any invention. Here we talk about anything new we have come up with, that is a new invention. So I need to patent it because others may copy it and claim as their property. So, but it should be applied before launching the product and not after. Copyright is, as the name indicates, that I have the right that if someone would like to copy any of my material, right, they have to seek permission from me. So generally the copyright is for the literary objects like your artwork, poetry, books, music. So all these can be copyrighted and they can be applied anytime. It is not before launch of your book. No. Even later on you can apply for copyright if someone else has not applied it. Third is the trademark. As the name indicates, mark, it is the name, symbol, that is your logo, and any other mark to describe the product or services, to define its uniqueness. So it can be done before or after the launching of the mark. Only in case of patent, you have to apply before the launch. And design, as I said, it can be the jewelry you are going to look at because gold is the same, but it's the design that matters. So that can be protected. So novel, ornamental, or appearance of any product. It can be product design because you might have heard that there were two mobile companies and they were saying the other mobile company has copied their design of the mobile. Similarly for cars, so some of the companies say that it has been copied or this part of their car design has been copied, right? So it should be applied before launching the product. So patent and design, they have to be either patented or protected for design before the launch. So these are the four which we'll talk about. So if I talk about the Copyright Act in India came in 1957, under which you are given the protection of original creative expressions in the field of literature, artistic work, dramatic work, etc. And the list continues. Trademark, which came in 1999, protection of unique name that makes a brand distinct from others. So it can be a logo, it can be simply a sign, it can be simply some color, but there has to be a fixed pattern in that. So you can standardize that. And then comes the patent, which came in 1970, protection of inventions that are novel. Like in Ayurveda, we have a lot of herbal medicines which, since we have not patented, other countries are claiming their ownership as their intellectual right on those herbs and medicines. There is another very interesting feature which has recently come up, which is geographical indication. In order to understand that, what it means is that maybe anything can be pinned to a particular location as the origin, because that product or service or whatsoever it is linked to that geographical area, and we call this as the geographical indication. And in India, they provide for the registration and better protection, as I said, for the geographical indicators related to the goods. So it is enacted by the Controller General of Patents, Designs and Trademarks. So it is not something which is very different. And if you look at, for example, I say Assam tea, I cannot grow tea in Punjab and say Assam tea. So there is a value attached to that location where the tea is grown. Similarly, if you talk about Mysore saris, right? So the saris from Mysore has that geographical indication. Similarly, we say Pashmina shawls, so that is J and K. Similarly, we can say Kullu shawls, they are from Kullu area. So like this, you can protect geographical indication. Now, in order to understand that in more detail, let me take up this recent case. Now, there are two states in India who are fighting over the geographical indication stamp, and that is over Basmati tag, so the name Basmati. So Madhya Pradesh is claiming that it is their product, they have the intellectual property right, although they have been giving to India, to Delhi. Similarly, if we talk about Punjab, they feel no, Basmati is the tag which should be given to Punjab. So this tussle is going on. This will give you an idea of graphical indication. Next, let's talk about the technology transfer. When we talk about technology transfer, as you all know, there are two routes to it. So one is that you set up your own R&D process. So you define the need, what you are looking for. Then it is through the indigenous, that is your in-house R&D capabilities, based on which you do the research and development and you come out with a technology which then you can adopt. But when we talk about technology transfer process, so you create a technology transfer plan, and then you engage the stockholders who would like to participate in that, and then you secure the resources, execute and manage. So that is where the deployment. But today what we are doing is we are integrating. So some of the technology we are importing and some of it is we are building through our R&D processes. So if we talk particularly about India, India has opted for judicial mix of indigenous and imported technology. Now, when we talk of technology transfer, what are the elements of technology that would like to transfer? It can be process know-how, it can be design know-how, it can be engineering know-how, or it is a combination of all. And similarly, when we talk about engineering know-how, manufacturing know-how, and management know-how. Now, one example of technology transfer we can talk here is the Rafale fighter jets. So, India has imported or in the process of importing 36 Rafale fighter jets. So, one of the jets came to Ambala very recently. But what is happening as per the original agreement of technology transfer? India had asked that France should transfer the technology. So, the audit department of our federal government has raised that issue that although the Rafale has come, but there is no technology which has been given for these. So these are some of the issues which we are going to discuss. Another topic which is very important is the appropriate technology. What do you mean by appropriate technology? So appropriate technology is uh, basically the choice and application of technology which is small scale, decentralized, labor intensive, energy efficient, environmentally sound, and locally controlled. So, if you go to any hilly terrain, for example, you go to Kasauli or Shimla, the road making, they don't use the boulders or the coarse aggregate, which we use in plains. So, what they do, even their roof tops, house roof tops, are made of slates, right? Graphite slates. So, what is available there? Is it energy efficient? Does it fulfill the purpose for which that is required? So, the right choice for the technology and where we would like to apply that technology has to be very clear. And then it should be starting with a small scale because you should not be dependent because of that technology on some other country. We'll take one example. Decentralized, if you are a labor intensive country like India, you need technology which is not eliminating manpower but requiring some more manpower. Energy efficient, which is very generic, environmentally sound, and it should be skilled people available to understand and run that technology. The biggest advocate of appropriate technology was our father of nation, Mohan Chand. We call him Mahatma Gandhi. The cottage industry that exists today is because of that small scale project started by Gandhiji. Similarly, if we talk of solar energy, that is the appropriate technology. So we need to have these solar cookers. So that is what we call as appropriate technology. But if you are in a country like Siberia, where you don't see the sun for months together, so you don't need this technology, and that is what we mean by appropriate technology. So, what are the issues in the technology transfer? Basically, four broad parameters: the cost consideration, so that could become an issue; the appropriativeness, so whether it is appropriate technology for the purpose you are transferring, and dependence. So, are you going to be dependent on the country who is supplying you that technology, or will you be able to build your own technology? And as you know, technology becomes obsolete over a period of time. So that's another big issue when we talk about technology transfer. And the developed nation should not dump the old technologies to the developing world. When we talk at the international level, so there could be some barriers for international technology transfer companies to transfer the things. So that you need to write to him. after understanding how this is going to take place. Choice of technology, very, very important. Term of technology transfer, what are the terms under which the two parties have agreed to transfer. Globalization, so you need to look at how fast the globalization is happening by the time you finalize a product or service or a process. Because of globalization, the private sector might be already geared up using that technology. So creating local capability. So that means whether it is the maintenance, operations, or future R&D on that. So you should be able to create the local skill set for that. And you will understand why the person or the country who is transferring the technology would not like to share the technology itself, because then you will stop buying it. So you have to keep a balance between all these, and the acquisition of the foreign technology, whether that is going to be workable for the local conditions. So all these you need to look at. Now, one of the small case studies I would like to take, which is a matter of hot, big concern in India. So India, as you know, we have abundance of solar power, and we want to build our solar power capacity. And but what is happening is the solar cells, the equipment, and the technology know-how lies with China. They are the biggest in solar energy devices, equipment, and after you have spoken to other people about the solar power. So will India's solar power capacity grow on its own by coming up with its own solar cells? Because 80% of the equipment, solar equipment, we are buying from China. So let's look at a video and then you can answer this. So you need that answer after watching that movie. But I think we need to look at our capability and how we can build those technologies which we can use to increase our solar power. So that is all from my side. You can write your answers on the chat box. Here is the summary of what we have done. We talked about the IPRs and technology transfer, what is appropriate technology and what are the issues while transferring the technology. And we did a small case study about the solar power in India. So here is a small quiz which you may like to answer. Question number 1 is coming on your screen. Literary work is covered under which Intellectual Property Right Act? Basmati tag dispute under geographical indication is between which two states of India? You name any two technology transfer issues. So literary work is covered under Copyright Act. Basmati tag dispute is between the Madhya Pradesh and Punjab. And the two most important issues for technology transfer are cost and obsolescence. So that is all from my side. If you have any questions, feel free to write to me. I'll get back to you as soon as possible. And if you want to do some further reading, I recommend this, which talks about the different agencies in India who work on intellectual property rights. And if you want to talk about the patents, so you can also look at this URL. So thank you very much, and I'll see you soon with the next lesson. Bye for now. Shabba khair.